Chelsea 2, Everton 0, and that is much more like it, isn't it? Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And today, after the first time in 5 games in all competitions, we get to talk about a win, and it was a good win. It was not the most exciting game of football that we've ever seen, but ultimately, we can't even think about playing all of that exciting football until we've got the foundations right. And the foundations are defend well, keep it simple, keep clean sheets, get balls in the back of the net, and then we can start talking about fancy stuff. And for the most part, that is what this game was. So the starting lineup was about as strong as it can be, especially without Chlsea being available at the moment. And it's potentially going to cause some headaches when he comes back, right? Because there's a couple of players did really, really well today that ultimately might give Maresca some headaches and, you know, force more rotation. But ultimately, we'll think about that in a little while. For now, we'll just talk about the game. Robert Sanchez started in goal. Malo Gusto at right back, inverting into midfield, and generally not playing as a advanced number 10 or shadow striker, just a bit inverting into midfield. Centre-back pairing of Trevor Chalobah and Wesley Fofana, absolutely love to see it. Marc Cucurella at left-back, who had a much better game than he has for the last few. A midfield pivot of Enzo Fernandez and Reece James, which, again, without Chlsea, is absolutely what you expect. Cole Palmer gets back in the centre of attack, Alejandro Garnacho on the left, Pedro Neto on the right, and João Pedro up top. So, this game gets us back into the top 4, albeit potentially temporarily. We'll have to see what happens with Crystal Palace's next game, because if they win, then they will jump us, but I don't necessarily think that's going to happen based on who they're playing against. And it puts us in a good stead heading into our next few games. But let's talk about the game itself, and this is 10 takeaways from Chelsea 2, Everton 0. Number 1, Palmer is back, but we need to be careful with him, man. We need to be careful. It was amazing seeing Cole Palmer score that goal today. His overall game was really good as well. You know, he's not exactly back to his best yet, of course. You know, and he could have had a few other opportunities, but ultimately he played really, really well. We don't have anyone else like him at the moment that can control the game from that centre attacking spot like he can. And the goal was clean, man. The goal was so clean. Wesley Fofana passed it up, got it into the feet of Malo Gusto, who put a lovely ball through to get it onto Cole Palmer, who fired it, rocketed it into the back of the net. It was a simple goal, but it was clean, man. It was such a clean goal, and it was classic Cole Palmer. Absolutely love to see it. But, again, taking off in and around the 60th minute, and that's probably what we're going to see for the most part. Do you know what I mean? He might get brought on in the odd game here or there, but we're probably not going to see Cole Palmer play 90 minutes consistently for a little while yet. But that's okay, because at the end of the day, he made it happen in 60 minutes today, and, you know, he broke the deadlock and got us in front in the game. Really, really happy to see that, and is going to be instrumental that Cole Palmer is in this kind of form for the next run of fixtures that we've got. Number 2, Fofana is our best centre-back. Oh, mate, he was amazing today. Absolutely amazing. It's just like, you know, Trevor Chalobah's done a really, really good job, and, you know, the centre-back situation has been heavily discussed by Chelsea fans and pundits alike throughout the entire season. But Wesley Fofana, not only is he our best centre-back, he looks like he's close to being back to full fitness. Do you know what I mean? We've been protecting him. Do you know what I mean? He's been playing on, off, and a couple of the games, like I got poked in the eye the other game. A few of the times he's played the full game, he's looked a bit tired at the end, or he looked like he's pulled up with something. But today, we just saw 90 minutes from Wesley Fofana, start to finish, and he looked phenomenal. Easily the best centre-back at the club at the moment, and is starting to look like that one that covers up for the other guys' mistakes as well. Like, Trevor Chalobah didn't look amazing today, but he didn't look bad. Trevor Chalobah was just that second auxiliary centre-back today. Do you know what I mean? And without the pressure of having to be the Virgil van Dijk, John Terry of the team, which Wesley Fofana seems like he's going to try and build into, players like Trevor Chalobah will continue to play better as well. So I was really happy to see Wesley Fofana play so well today. I think he's going to be instrumental. He's probably not going to play the Cardiff game. We'll probably see him next in the Newcastle game. He needs to be starting all of our big Premier League games and our Champions League games as much as possible. And I hope, like I say, that, you know, because the difficult thing about that is obviously at the moment it's kind of okay because you've got a Prem game, then you've got a Cup game, then you've got a Prem game, then we've had like a lower level opposition Champions League match, and you think, oh, okay, maybe we don't need him, but we are curtailing into a run of fixtures where Wesley Fofana is going to be really, really important. So just looking at how much energy he had today, and one little thing I want to talk about is the dark arts, man, is the banter, I absolutely loved it today. Maybe it's a bit silly, but There was a moment where Wesley Fofana fouled someone, 75 minutes, getting close to the 80th minute, and it was an obvious yellow card. But he just ran away, stuck his tongue out at the guy. It was jokes, absolutely brilliant. And also, it's not, it was great that it was funny, but also it shows focus because he knew he was going to get a yellow card in that point, and that means he trusted himself to play the rest of the game like he was on a yellow card. Like Diego Costa, in a way. Lots of people talk about Diego Costa's like fiery attitude and whatever, and I'm not saying Wesley Fofana's like that, but one thing Diego Costa was really good at was getting a yellow card and keeping his focus. It's one thing getting a lot of yellow cards because you're a rash player, but being able to choose a moment to get a yellow card because you trust yourself to keep you cool for the rest of the game is absolutely great, and I love that from Wesley Fofana today. Number 3, Pedro Neto has become almost undroppable, hasn't he? Let's be completely honest. I know he wasn't on the score sheet today or didn't get any assists, but he is just absolutely phenomenal. He's like just gotten into that category for me now alongside Marco Correa, Moises Caicedo, maybe not quite up there with Cole Palmer in terms of output, but just in terms of like, don't get me wrong, I really like Esteval Willian, and I do believe that he's going to turn into an absolutely phenomenal player, but at the moment I just don't think you can drop Pedro Neto, man. I just don't think you can drop him. He's like the Azpilicueta of right wingers, do you know what I mean? He literally is just an 8 out of 10, or the Willian, sorry, the old Willian. He's not always getting goals, he's not always getting assists, but he puts in 110% every single game and always is an 8 out of 10, or 7 or 8 out of 10, do you know what I mean? I haven't seen Pedro Neto have a bad game for a really, really long time, and yes, like I say, he's not the flashiest player and doesn't score the most goals, albeit he is our top goal scorer in the Premier League, to be fair. So that was a little bit of a disservice to him to say that, to be fair. But Pedro Neto is absolutely phenomenal footballer. And it only makes me worry more about the Giovanni Quenda situation. Giovanni Quenda is actually injured for 2 months, but and is going to come and spend some time at Chelsea before he moves here. But when we bring Giovanni Quenda in, we're going to have Esteval Willian and Giovanni Quenda on the right, and all of a sudden, Pedro Neto's got even more competition because Quenda's going to want to play. Unless we move Esteval Willian into the centre more to be that sort of support player for Cole Palmer, there's going to be a problem there, and I don't want to see Pedro Neto go because I just think he's fantastic. Number 4, Malo Gusto, man of the match. He is actually turning into a great player, and the thing with Malo Gusto, a lot of us in general over the last year, let's call it, have been pretty harsh on Malo Gusto, but I actually think that's got more to do with the way that he's being used rather than the type of player that he is. When Malo Gusto has a good game, or when he's played in a reasonably familiar and less eccentric position like he did today, he just plays really well, and he's adding assists and goals to his game. That's really important, man. Really, really important. I don't like seeing Malo Gusto in the number 10. I don't like seeing Malo Gusto start from right back and end up as a shadow striker. I don't really like seeing that from any of our fullbacks. I support the inverting fullback into midfield idea when that allows the other midfielders to push up. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I get that, that's cool. And if you look at the assist today, that came from inverting into a deeper midfield position. And when he got the goal today, that was kind of similar as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like, he wasn't playing as a shadow striker. He was able to make a run because he was coming from deep. And, that's I get that, and I'm okay with it. But either way, Malo Gusto turning just 2 career goals, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for him, obviously, that's 200% more than he'd ever scored in before this season. The assists are starting to come a little bit more as well, and like I say, man, I still think he's looked his best in Pochettino's season when he was just used as a right back, and Maresca has definitely thrown him all over the place, which has got to be really difficult, man. Do you know what I mean? Because you're not just saying, oh, you're a right back, but I want you to play in midfield. You're saying, I know you're a right back, but I want you to play in right back and in midfield and up top as a shadow striker and as a number 10. Do you know what I mean? It's a lot to be asked of someone who might have the physical attributes to do it, but it must take a lot to be able to play all those positions, man. But either way, Malo Gusto is turning into a really good player and might create some headaches as well. Like I said at the start, you got to think, when Moises Caicedo comes back, does Malo Gusto just get dropped? That's the thing, because you would think in your head, Moises Caicedo comes back, him and Enzo Fernandez in midfield, Cole Palmer in the 10, Reece James moves back into the right back spot. At the end of the day, we've got a lot of games, do you know what I mean? And obviously we're nursing people like Cole Palmer and stuff, and, Moises Caicedo's had injury worries and issues and stuff throughout the season, but I do foresee a good headache coming, because if Malo Gusto can keep getting numbers at the end of the day and contributing to the team, then it's going to, he feels almost like a first team player, even though instantly in your head you're like, he's the backup to Reece James. He's been called upon so many times since he's joined the team, and he's basically a first team player. So props to Malo Gusto. Really happy with his performance today, and I'm just curious as to see how it develops. Do you know what I mean? When we've got all of our players back fit and available, you want consistency. What happens to Malo Gusto? Number 5, I want to talk about Garnacho a little bit. So on the face of it, Garnacho had a not great game today. His SOFA score rating was like 6.6 or something. It was pretty low. But I see something that I think is happening. I talked about this with my friend Lewis from FFB. He texted me and he was like, are you still part of the Garnacho fan club? And I was like, well, actually, yeah, man. Like, the thing is, today, he missed a load of chances, right? But that's why his rating was low, but he's getting into those positions, do you know what I mean? And he looks so much better than Mykhailo Mudryk. He looks so much better than Jadon Sancho did for the most part. Jadon Sancho just looked like he didn't care, do you know what I mean? And Garnacho seems to, getting more familiar with the team. He's finding his way into these positions. The next thing he needs to do is calm it down a little bit. Do you know what I mean? If he can learn to get into these positions, because at the end of the day, he used to score a lot of goals for Man United, man. He knows where the back of the net is, but this is a big change. So he's still settling and it's still taking him a while to, he's not been playing huge amounts of games either. That's the other thing is, between him, Jamie Gittins and Pedro Neto, we've been rotating our left wing so much that Garnacho hasn't been able to get a huge amount of games and not much in the way of consistency so far. But although he missed those chances today, I think that's promising. If we can keep on getting games and he can get consistent and he can learn to calm his head in those final moments and not sky it or put it wide or whatever, I think we could start seeing good stuff from Garnacho soon. He scored a really important goal for us in the Sunderland game. That was a really, really tough game. I just think that he's not there yet. Obviously, he's not there yet. Even though Jamie Gittins actually got a higher rating than he did today. Jamie Gittins got a 7, but I think ultimately Garnacho is close. I still prefer Garnacho to Jamie Gittins, and I think that he's closer to being a more important player than I don't think Jamie Gittins is particularly snapping at his heels, for instance. So I think on the face of it, essentially, Garnacho didn't have an amazing performance today, but I don't think it would have taken much, do you know what I mean, for that to actually have been a really good performance. He seems to be walking the line for me right now, and I'm just hoping, like I say, if he can get more games, then we start seeing a bit more from him soon. Number 6 is about goals in general, right? So it's a good thing that goals are coming from all over the pitch. But it's not great that very few of them are coming from our striker spot. At the end of the day, Arsenal last year, they were praised highly for all of their goals coming from all over the pitch. And you need that in a title-winning team. You need everyone to be able to chip in. But when you haven't got that guy, do you know what I mean? When you haven't got that guy who you know will score 15 plus goals a season and he will be your main outlet for goals, it's a tough one, man. It's a tough one. And, João Pedro didn't look amazing again today. He had an okay game, but he also looks like he's starting to get frustrated and he lost his cool a little bit. I've talked about it a couple of times recently in a few videos. I really hope we go in for Joaquin Pannicelli. I think the thing that this team needs is an actual striker. And I've talked about it before, not a striker like João Pedro who drops deep, and not one like Nicholas Jackson who's a converted winger who likes to drift wide, not a Timo Werner, not a Kai Havertz. Do you know what I mean? Someone who's going to come in and the only thing that's on his mind is scoring goals. I think we're missing that at the moment because our wingers aren't scoring enough. Pedro Neto's doing a really good job. Obviously, Esteval's putting him in, but our wingers aren't scoring it. Neither of them are like Mo Salah. Do you know what I mean? Who essentially is like a striker from the right wing. Either not positionally, but the mentality of him is I'm there to score goals. Do you know what I mean? So I just think that we're not getting enough goals from our wingers, and they're not those type of wingers to be able to say, we'll just have a striker that drops deep or whatever. Cole Palmer, yes, he's coming back, and we can probably expect him to get a lot of goals when he's back to his best self. But at the same time, I don't think that's enough. Do you know what I mean? I think we need a striker who's going to be there and going to be on the end of those goals. And I would really like to see Joaquin Pannicelli come in for this. I think for me, personally, one thing this team is missing is a bagsman, a marksman, a guy that you can rely on. Like the idea of Mark Guew. Mark Guew doesn't put enough goals in the back of the net. But the thing we like about Mark Guew is as when he comes on, he's an outlet for the team. He plays as a proper striker. Do you know what I mean? Liam Delap was supposed to be that, I guess. But Liam Delap's season has just been curtailed by injury, suspension, and more injuries at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? So it's a bit savage. Maybe Liam Delap could have been that guy. But also, I just think Joaquin Pannicelli's a bit older. He's been playing first-team football a bit longer. Not at a higher level necessarily, but you got to think Strasbourg are a better team in France than Ipswich were in the Premier League at the end of the day. So I think that Joaquin Pannicelli's doing a really good job over out in France, and I would like to see him come in. Either way, my sentient point for this one is it's great that goals are coming from all over the pitch. Don't get me wrong, but I think that without that guy to put them away, I think, I think we're going to struggle still. Number 7, Chelsea shouldn't buy Mike Maignan. I don't know if it's if it's going to happen. It probably won't happen until the end of the season. Mike Maignan's deal is running out at the end of the day, so that's going to make him a hot property for a lot of teams to come in for. I think that Sanchez is just winning me over, man. Not long term. I'll be honest with that now. I don't think that he's the guy long term, but I do think for right now, for this season, don't buy Mike Maignan in January, definitely. And I'm not going to lie to you, I don't really think we should bother with him next year either. I think it wouldn't be enough of an upgrade, and he hasn't got any room to develop because he's already in over his 30s. Do you know what I mean? I think that Rob Sanchez has deserved to keep his place right now until Mike Penders is ready to come in. And then we should have a battle, a Czech v Courtois style battle about who comes out on top. And, eventually the other goalkeeper will ostensibly probably get sold, won't they? But either way, I think Rob Sanchez has just been great for the most part, man. Like this season compared to last season he made 5 errors leading to goals, which was a league high. And it wasn't just even the errors leading to goals. He was making errors all over the place, all of the time. He didn't look confident. He didn't look assured. The style of play was different because Maresca was getting him to play short all the time where he's not actually that good at it, but now he's more comfortable being able to play long, and his pinpoint passing is definitely getting better as well, at least for the rest of the season. I'm happy to stick with Rob Sanchez, and I don't really think we should go in for Mike Maignan now either. I think that keep Sanchez until Penders is ready, bring Penders in, let them fight for it, but I think bringing Mike Maignan in right now just add something into the mix that doesn't need to be there, and I think Sanchez has earned his spot as a number 1 for this season at least. Number 8, we saw the game out, and what I mean by that is Everton sprang into life in the last 10 minutes of this game, man. They really struggled in this game to make a lot of things of note happen. We had a huge amount of possession. I heard the guys say in the commentary, in the second half we had 70% possession. It was 60 odd over the whole game. But out of nowhere, Everton had 2 really, really close chances in the last 5-10 minutes of the game, and Wesley Fofana was amazing. Sanchez was amazing. We are doing, it's sometimes seeing out the game is the problem, and we've seen that before. Do you know what I mean? We saw that against Sunderland, for instance. We saw that against, who even was it? I can't remember. There's been another game recently where we threw it away right at the end. And seeing out those games is really, really, really important because we were on top and we maintained it and we didn't let any... Because if we'd have conceded 1 goal, that can give them all of this burst of air to come and get another one right at the last minute, and we could have walked away with a draw. Do you know what I mean? And we've seen stuff like that happen this season, man. We've literally seen stuff like that happen where we've been on top, we've been in the ascendancy, and we've thrown it away because the focus wasn't there. The passion, the determination, the grit, the whatever wasn't there. We saw that today, and it got us a clean sheet and got us a respectable 2-0 draw. I think that's a really, really positive thing. And I just hope it's something we continue with. At the end of the day, I think seeing out these games is a really important thing to learn. It's all fine and good, outscore your opponent, but we obviously just don't have the equipment to do that right now. Do you know what I mean? Based on Maresca's style of play, yes, Neto's getting a lot of goals, but our left wing doesn't score very much, our striker doesn't score very much, and our centre attack generally hasn't been scoring very much. Maybe that changes now with Cole Palmer coming back in, but before we can rely on outscoring our opponents, we need to learn to see games out, and I think we did that really, really well today. Number 9, keep it simple. Keep it simple, man. This game, like I said at the start, it wasn't particularly flashy. It wasn't loads of unbelievable football and amazing passing or crazy stuff. Do you know what I mean? It was a simple game of football, a very, very simple, relaxed 2-0 win that just felt like we were in charge for most of it, and we stayed in charge for most of it. And do you know what? The problem we've had recently is Maresca experimenting so much with lineups and substitutions and, trying to overcomplicate stuff. At the end of the day, keep it simple, man. Absolutely keep it simple. Some of the best players, for instance, have been really good players because they know how to keep it simple. Erling Haaland's a really good example of that. Erling Haaland scores buckets of goals. And yes, every now and again, it's an absolute worldie. But the reason he gets the majority of those numbers is because he keeps it simple. I think that extends to a team and your tactics as well. Sometimes, yeah, okay, for the PSG game, we changed our formation and, adapted to them, brilliant. And we've seen other stuff like that as well, the game against Arsenal, did really, really well. But ultimately, I think in games like this especially, the Leeds game, the Bournemouth game, keep it simple, man. It might not be super technically exciting or whatever, but look at the kind of result you can get. I think it was a simple game today. I think Enzo Maresca's tactics were not all over the place. People weren't switching positions all the time and going all over the place, do you know what I mean? It was simple football, and and I think that worked really well. And I think with Cardiff, Newcastle, Aston Villa, Bournemouth, Man City coming up, do you know what I mean? These are difficult games, man. Our next run of Premier League games in particular, really, really difficult. And I think if we keep it simple, we'll get results, do you know what I mean? And they might not be super results. We might not score loads of goals. It might not be the sexiest football you've ever seen, but I just think we need to keep it simple. At number 10, I've already talked about it a little bit, but that was a much needed win ahead of the run of games we've got coming up, right? Our next game is against Cardiff, but our next Premier League game is against Newcastle at St James's Park. And man, we just know, don't we? We just know. It's so hard to win at St James's Park. For us in particular, it doesn't matter. Newcastle were doing all right. Do you know what I mean? They're not having as terrible a season. You know, they've picked up a few results recently, and you know they're starting to get close to the mid-table. And it wouldn't take long for them to kind of find their way a little bit higher. But at the end of the day, regardless of their season's form, and you would say that Chelsea are in better form than Newcastle, like going to St James's Park is savage, absolutely savage. And that is a really important game, and that's a really important game. Ultimately, Everton are higher, much higher. Well, Everton are higher than Newcastle are in the Premier League, so you would have thought that, going to Newcastle, that'll be fine. But it's not just about playing Newcastle, man. It's about going to St James's Park, because there is some hoodoo in that place, man. There is some hoodoo in that place, and we really, really, really struggle there. Really, really important that we go and get a result. And I think a lot of the things that I've talked about today, like keep the football simple, do you know what I mean? Especially is how we go and do that. We need to build momentum. We've struggled with consistent momentum this season, do you know what I mean? And we've had patches. We had a good patch, and then we had a bad patch. And we had a good patch, and then we had a bad patch. And like I say, this is our first win in 5 games. So that's a bit of a bad patch, and we had a patch earlier in the season as well. We need to be able to keep consistent. Even if it's just like, you know, we don't just lose one game every now and again or draw one game every now and again. It's like we go through periods of winning all our matches and then go through periods of drawing and losing all of our matches. And that's really difficult because it affects the mentality of your team. So today was really, really important. The Cardiff game will be important, just although not, you know, connected to the Premier League results at the end of the day. It will be really important for us to get a result there to keep that momentum. And the other thing is Moises Caicedo will be back for that game, which is really, really important, right? Hopefully he's learned his lesson. You know, don't be as rash as he was when he got sent off. And, you know, that straight red has obviously cost us a little bit. You'd have to argue like Leeds and Bournemouth. At the end of the day, we probably could have done with Moises Caicedo for both of those games in the grand scheme of things. But that's by the by. That is in the past, and we will have him back for the Newcastle game. So let's just go forward, keep it simple, get the win at the moment, maybe reevaluate the squad in January. I'm really interested to see. All the news is saying we're not going to go out and get anyone. We're not going to go out and do anything, but, you know, we'll have to see, because like I say, there seems to be some holes and a few points in our team at the moment. For me, particularly, I've started to come around to the fact that I don't think any of the striker situation is not going to work in our favour if we keep it as it is for the rest of the season. So that is it, guys. I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks very much for sticking around till the end of the video. If you did, I'll catch up with you all very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.